Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, in this explainer, we are unpacking a really fascinating, yet almost entirely subconscious psychological shift that's happening to all of us right now. We're talking about how we interact with artificial intelligence, and specifically, this idea of the illusion of certainty. The whole information landscape is shifting under our feet, and our brains are just trying to keep up. But, in doing so, we're actually making some pretty quiet, invisible compromises.
Think about your own experience for a second. Picture the very first time you asked an AI for advice. Usually it's something totally minor. Day one, maybe you just want a little help drafting an awkward email, or maybe you're trying to wrap your head around a complex concept, and the advice it gives you is actually incredibly useful. So, naturally, you ask another question, and then another. Weeks pass, months pass, and eventually something fundamental shifts. Without even realizing it, you stop asking yourself, hey, is this advice actually correct? And you just start assuming, well, of course it's correct. That exact moment, that shift from verifying to just assuming, might seem tiny.
But it raises an absolutely massive question, one that has real stakes for all of us. What actually happens when we trust AI just a little too much? To get to the bottom of that, we really have to look at what trust is. Trust is literally the foundational force of human life. Without it, our relationships break down, businesses can't operate, and entire societies just destabilize. We need trust to function every single day. But here's the catch. Trust has always involved a certain degree of risk, because inherently, trusting means accepting that something or someone might be right without having absolute 100% proof. So the big question we're facing today is exactly how much of that trust and that risk we should be handing over to artificial intelligence.
Think about why AI gets our trust so fast in the first place. You type in a prompt and almost instantly, a clear answer pops up on your screen. It's incredibly fast. It's confident. It's beautifully written. And honestly, it's usually really helpful. From the outside, it looks highly knowledgeable. But it's that sheer confidence that creates a deeply powerful and potentially risky psychological effect on us.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it highlights a core human flaw. We constantly associate confidence with competence. When someone speaks to us with absolute certainty, our brains are just hardwired to believe they know exactly what they're talking about. It's a mental shortcut. The issue is, AI can sound unflinchingly confident, even when it is completely undeniably wrong. And that is exactly where the problem starts.
Let's put this into a real-world scenario. Imagine you're completely lost in a new city, and you ask two different people for directions. The first person kind of scratches their head and goes, well, I'm not totally sure, but I think it's that way. That's your classic human uncertainty. Then the second person points firmly and says, it is definitely that way. That's AI certainty. We are naturally drawn toward the person offering certainty, right? It makes us feel safe, even if that certainty is totally misplaced. AI leverages this by presenting information in this highly polished format, making the answers feel complete, reliable, and totally authoritative.
But we really need to shatter that illusion for a second. AI does not actually know things, not the way you and I understand knowledge. It doesn't actually comprehend the concepts it's spitting out. It's simply generating responses based entirely on mathematical patterns it's seen in the past. Sometimes, matching those patterns gives you a perfectly accurate response. Sometimes it really doesn't. And when we forget that distinction, when we confuse a really good pattern matching machine with a conscious entity that knows things, that trust becomes dangerous.
And this brilliantly illustrates something else, the convenience trap. Let's face it, checking information takes effort. Doing your own research takes time, and critical thinking burns mental energy. AI makes everything frictionless. That's a huge part of the appeal. But convenience quietly changes our behavior. If an answer arrives instantly and looks flawless, we are way less likely to question it, not because we're lazy, but because questioning takes work.
So what happens when someone relies on AI every single day? They use it for big decisions, for learning, for solving complex problems. Over time, that AI becomes this familiar, comforting presence. And then a very subtle but very real shift happens. Instead of using AI as a tool, which is something that helps us think, they start treating it as an authority, which is something that thinks for us. That difference might sound like semantics, but it matters so much. Those are two completely different relationships to have with technology.
Let's move to the South African reality and see how this builds when navigating an uneven information landscape. While this trust issue is global, it hits differently in societies where access to reliable information is already fragmented. People are already fighting a daily battle just to figure out what's real. Which news sources can I actually trust? Is this text message a scam?
which piece of information is actually accurate in all this noise. AI can absolutely help you navigate that mess, but it also adds a whole new layer of risk. Because, as we've seen, not every AI-generated answer is true.
Which means learning how to verify information is basically going to be a crucial survival skill going forward. Look, the goal here is not to throw the technology away or be terrified of AI. The goal is healthy trust. And healthy trust means maintaining curiosity, asking questions, doing verification, and taking time for reflection. We want to deeply understand AI, and true understanding always requires a healthy dose of skepticism.
Throughout human history, we've put our trust in so many different systems. Grand institutions, charismatic leaders, experts, new tech. Sometimes that trust paid off, and sometimes it led us completely astray. But the core lesson is never changed. No system is perfect. Absolutely no source is infallible. And real wisdom usually starts with the ability to just pause and ask, wait, how do I actually know this is true? That question is about to become more important than ever.
So the crucial point is this. What happens when you trust AI too much? You simply stop thinking about whether it deserves that trust. You outsource your own critical thinking. AI is incredibly powerful, and it's going to transform our world, for sure. But at the end of the day, it is a tool, and tools work best when the people using them stay actively engaged. The future doesn't belong to the people who blindly trust AI, and it definitely doesn't belong to the people who reject it out of fear. It belongs to those who learn how to work with it while still thinking for themselves.
If this explainer got you thinking, make sure to subscribe to Digital Mzansi. Every single week, we're exploring how artificial intelligence is reshaping trust, work, and our everyday lives. Understanding AI is absolutely critical right now. But honestly, understanding ourselves and our own psychological vulnerabilities, that might be the most important thing of all. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and we'll see you in the next one.